We are here at the ancient beaches of glacial Lake Iroquois. And one of our hypotheses about the earliest people to live here is that they had very sophisticated maritime technology. In other words, they knew how to make, build, repair, and navigate using boats. So it's a great question. How would we understand that if these people lived 13,000 years ago? And the answer is that they have left behind some of their tools for boat building. The first tool that I would like to show you is a pestle. And it would have been part of a mortar and pestle. And one of the reasons we think this was used for boat building is that it still has the remains of red hematite powder on it. And according to our colleagues, hematite could have been mixed with the resin from pine trees, and you can see that there's pine trees all around us. And you would grind the red iron ore into powder, mix it with the pitch, and you would have a bright red waterproof paint. And imagine then, so not only could there have been a boat possibly built of bark, and then its waterproof sealant could have been a bright red color with the waterproofing resins mixed with the red paint. So that's one of our tools that is a clue that people are making and building boats. Another clue is the fact that this object was actually found on a landform that would have been an island in the glacial lake. And so 13,000 years ago, the only way to get there would have been by boat. So luckily for us, they left their tools behind on an island, and we were able to discover them so many years later. Just like our families have tool kits in their garage with maybe some pliers and a hammer and a screwdriver, our ancestral people also had complicated toolkits. Sometimes people bring me a stone tool and they'll say, "Dr. Rush, I have found an arrowhead, but I'm afraid it's broken." But in actuality, what they've brought me is a different kind of tool. Not every stone tool is a projectile point or an arrowhead. So we have a series of important tools from our ancient boat building kit. And these tools, again, were found on the ancient shorelines and also on the fossil island. And we call it a fossil island because now it's a hill because the water is gone. So it's sort of a remainder of those ancient times. And then of the shorelines, of course, are these beaches as we see them today. And one of the beach areas where we found the most boat building tools was actually a very quiet little cove in the glacial lake. And so it's easy to imagine the ancestors finding the quiet water and bringing their boats in and having a very calm place to pull their boats out of the water and work on them. So in my collection of tools today, I have a knife or a scraper. And we know that it's a knife or scraper because it has a very sharp edge, and we can see from the scars in the stone that it was actively sharpened to make it be working effectively. This one also could have been used to poke holes. You can see it's been sharpened into a point. We also have a combination drill and reamer. And this would have been used to not only poke a hole, but then you would twist to make sure that that hole was the size that you want. And we know that because we often look at these tools under the microscope, and we can actually measure the size of the hole by looking at the little waist where the wear pattern is located. And it tells us that some of these boats probably had pretty good sized holes because they're put together by finding fibers in the forest, quite often tree roots, and then you use those to sew the pieces of the boat together. And our smallest, but maybe the most important, is this tool, which the technical term is called a polyhedral microblade core. And this is a punch that was made from the remains of other tool making, similar to the stone that our Clovis point is made from. And it is fashioned by taking the central part of the stone and then narrowing it down into the pointed end. One reason why this particular tool is so important is that our colleagues tell us that nobody made tools like this since 11,000 years ago. So we know that this is a very, very ancient tool and that it matches the time period of the ancient lakes. And we also know that modern people, like our Inuit and peoples of the Arctic, use similar but modern versions of tools like this as they work on their modern boats today. And so as we think about the tools and we think about the challenges of living in a glacial landscape, we have to admire and respect the ancestors as they came to Fort Drum so many thousand years ago and became our first people here.